pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, the upcoming meeting dates are May 17th and June 7th. I'm going to hold off on approving the minutes. I don't think we have a quorum, do we? We do? Oh, okay. Okay, I was here, Steve, John, and Teresa. Okay, we've got it. Has everybody had an ample time to review February 16th minutes?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
That we're all up to date.
We are up to date.
Wow, that never happened.
Everything is up to date in East Fishkill. Okay, the first item is an extension of final approval for Hopewell Sports Dome. The site plan was originally granted in October of 14. A 6-month extension has been granted. We understand that you are pursuing the Board of Health and whatnot. So, any comments you want to make?
No, just looking for the extension where we're working, trying to get Board of Health, power, electric, gas, get it all arranged.
Okay, now is 6 months going to be enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we will.
Okay,
So
beautiful.
far, so I think it's going to work.
Any objections from the professionals?
I think as far as the sewer, Global is working on a transportation corporation. Whether or not that gets finalized in 6 months, I don't know. I think maybe just to be a little on the conservative side, you may want to go a year.
Okay, let's table a year. Thank you, Scott. Any other comments? Any comments from the board members? Could I get a motion to extend the Hopewell Sports Dome site plan
For 1
for
year?
another,
You want to do it for a year?
for a year?
For a year. So
Yes.
moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Moving right along, the next item is the public hearing for Brumation, lot line of realignment and site plan. Do I have a motion to reopen the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Pam, is there any reason why we should not reopen the no outstanding?
Have everything?
I'm sorry,
We're not reopening it, we're opening it.
oh,
We've had discussions in the past.
first night it's
This is the first
First
open.
one, yeah, it's-
really?
Yeah.
That's right. But there were previous,
There were
that's right, that's right. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry. This is Tuesday, this must be the planning board. Okay. But do I need to, we've opened the public hearing, okay.
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Mike is coming.
Mr. Gillespie, do you want to apprise us on the project?
He's going for in a minute.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As a just kind of a quick recap, if you recall, the last time we were here, it actually was kind of, let's call it a non-official public hearing. We had advertised for a public hearing, but there was a change that was made by the owner, not the applicant, in the interim regarding a lot line. So while notices went out to the folks and so forth, in terms of the hearing, it wasn't official. So tonight is official. So tonight we are here for the public hearing. We did have some input relative to, I think, one of the neighbors the last time we were here. For the purposes of anybody that may be interested, I'll run through it real quick.
Please.
The brumation project is actually located on Donovan Drive.
It's on, it just doesn't pick up.
That's for the TV.
It's here. It picks up for the TV.
That's just for the TV.
So I don't need it.
He wanted to take it out.
Thank you.
This isn't good TV. This is not good
Some start
TV,
here.
right?
Bad TV.
Our advertisers are complaining enormously about these things.
All right, let's start over. This is the brumation project located off of Donovan Drive. This application actually is two parts. One is a lot line realignment, or let's call it a subdivision. The other part is a site plan. What we're effectively doing is we're modifying the lot line between two fairly large parcels, I think combined about 8 acres plus altogether, into one larger parcel in the back, and then the brumation parcel, which will actually be the parcel in the front, identified on this map as parcel A, which is 1.35 acres. Okay. The lot line realignment portion of the project is fairly straightforward. I'll move to the site plan. If you recall, what we're proposing is a 5,600 square foot building footprint, okay? And it's not totally 2 floors. There's a portion that's going to be a second floor with some office space and some storage. Altogether, it's about mid 9,000 square feet, I think 96, I want to say. We have, because of the use, it's brumation is a company that effectively fabricates controls and assembles controls for breweries. Okay? And they have an existing facility in Fishkill, and they are expanding. That's the reason why we're here tonight, looking to buy the property and move forward with regards to their own building. It's a particularly low-use type of operation. It fits very well with this zone in which we're in, which is an industrial zone. We had been before the board on a few occasions relative to the overall layout. We made some changes here and there relative to the layout regarding access and parking. We talked about the fact that while there's a requirement of 23, 24 spaces, the reality is it's foreseen that it would only be 12. One of probably the more significant changes that we've had since the last time we were here was there was a concern regarding the overhead door and parking and maneuverability and so forth. Effectively, what I did was I just took the parking spaces, which used to be perpendicular here, and turned them 90 degrees, all right, and pulled them this side. So this opened up this entire area here. And effectively, these spots in the middle here and the spots over here are proposed to be banked. So they're really, while the pavement will be there, not going to be striped, so it even allows for more maneuverability for the truck. I think we're actually proposing one more space than even we think we need, so 13 instead of 12.
So the issue was that there's no chance now that a car could be blocked from exiting, by a truck.
That was the concern.
Right.
Yeah. If it backed up here, we have the ability to actually run around the site, this perimeter here. So that kind of solved that issue.
Okay.
Long story short, there were some comments certainly from the planner and from the town engineer and traffic relative to making sure we had the maneuverability, the turning radiuses, things like that. I'll let Michelle and Joe get detailed into their latest set. One of the things that I do want to mention is one of the challenges that have been on this site has been the drainage. And I want to just go over that with you briefly to provide some explanation relative to the stormwater plan and why you don't have that yet. As part of this application, and we recall the change that we made, we took this whole site and we shifted it because the future potential access to the rear parcel is now on the southern portion, where before there was an existing right-of-way as part of a filed map on the northern end. There's a pretty significant stream and there's town wetlands up there. So one of the reasons was to shift everything down to keep it outside the wetland, outside the buffer, right? The whole site sheets this way. The reality is the easiest way to take this water, once we treat it, and once we discharge it, is to take it and tie it into a location down, let's call it down this location where the previous future road was. If we do that, we get into piping, installing piping, what happens is we are now in the buffer. The reality is now we need a permit. What we've been tinkering with is actually taking this, treating this store water, bringing it through here, and actually tying it into this basin, which is located here, and our elevations aren't as great, and I don't want to get super technical with you, but we don't have as much elevation to work with, so it again becomes an issue of trying to play with the numbers and the modeling in order to kind of tighten things up. But we want to, I think one of the reasons we moved the whole project was to stay out of that buffer and stay out of that wetland. I'm confident we can achieve it, but we're still playing with it, and that's where that stands. So I wanted to provide an explanation as to why you don't have that. I know I've talked to Joe about it. We anticipate trying to get it together, but it also has to be, it has to work. And we're
Let me just ask, so I understand that, you're going to use the existing pond, but that's just as your outlet, so to speak. You're going to handle all your quantity requirements right here on site, but that just becomes your overflow or your discharge point.
Right. There's our quality and our quantity on site. We talked about one point as part of the overall subdivision, there's a fairly significant pond that's located at the front of Donovan Drive. It would have got a little complicated to be able to take that water down there and figure, so what we're doing, and then actually this comes back here, discharges via 60-inch RCP, and then runs down through this stream down through here. So, this is the plan of attack, okay? And it keeps us out of buffering, and it's the right way to do it. So that's
Okay.
kind of the.
I
but-
commend you for trying to protect the buffer and the wetland.
Right, but it's, yes.
Okay. Joe, you're good with that?
Yeah, actually, Mike and I plan to meet in a couple of days to go over some more of these details, but what I'm hearing so far sounds like a pretty good approach.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're going to meet later in the week to go through further detail on it. So, yeah, I think from an overall project perspective, that's probably the best explanation I can give.
Okay.
Well, I'll open up to the public.
Okay.
But you're comfortable that you mentioned you're a little concerned about elevation. Have you taken any shots to verify, or that's just a?
When I say
Assumption.
elevation, I have all the existing, as part of the overall survey, we took shots on rims, inverts, everything as of current, as built. The issue becomes in terms of here, there's only, if I have an inlet at this location, there's only so far down I could bring this. So in lieu of getting my volume going deeper, I have to go wider. So that's why this is this is starting to sneak up in here to try and provide that attenuation volume, so. This is my critical elevation.
Have you done any test pitting at the site?
We did soil testing out there.
And, I mean, can you get infiltration there or no?
That's part of this, but not a whole lot. The soils, believe it or not, this was an old gravel mine. Unfortunately,
Or do you even hit water if you go
we
too
took a lot
deep?
of
Do you
gravel.
hit water?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah,
Right.
and you know, the groundwater elevation, I mean, there were signs of modeling and so forth when we actually did our tests, so we're constrained
Gotcha.
by that as well, so.
Okay, I have a note from HVA Engineers, from David Ellis, saying that all of the conditions and the issues that he raised have been satisfied. Michelle, any comments or?
At the last meeting, we had asked the applicant to provide a lighting plan and a landscape plan, which they did. And they also showed the location of the sign. And I just had a quick question. It's my understanding that the first entrance is truck only?
Correct.
Okay, so there's going to be like a truck-only sign there, and then so theoretically, people will drive in Donovan Drive, and the sign to the actual brumation facility will be at the second entrance, so that they'll know to go in there as their entrance.
Correct.
Deliveries only sign, I would imagine, right? Or deliveries only?
I think deliveries only are for the first entrance, right?
And it'll be signed accordingly, right? Deliveries only.
And we
Yeah.
actually have provided, indicated signage on that plan. I think David
Yes.
had indicated maybe changing some of the language of that sign to make sure it's clear whether it's delivery or truck traffic only, whatever it may be, but it's designated as certainly as one way in, and then it has to be limited to truck traffic, and obviously do not enter from the other side. So whatever works to be able to
Okay.
satisfy it.
And then they showed bank of white pines essentially between the daycare center and the driveway, really.
Okay.
And then some other additional landscaping up front in the building.
So all good. Okay. Joe?
Yeah, some of these Mike and I covered before. I guess one question I have, though, there, Mike, the plans you're flipping through there, are those the same as what was submitted to the town, or have you done more work on them? They look slightly
I
different.
think the only thing that's different is that on that grading plan, because we've been tinkering with it.
Okay.
That's, and nothing else has been modified, but that's, you know, the grading is, at the pond location has changed a little bit. Elevations wise, grades wise, in terms of the parking lot, it's the same that you saw, so.
Okay. Yeah, our letter goes over a few of the items that he did address with, in terms of making specific reference back to the original site plan for Donovan Drive, which is, you know, something we asked them to do. And they did address some circulation and truck movement comments. They included information on environmentally sensitive lands, and that looks to be, you know, he's got way more area, you know, between the two lots than what's necessary. Clarified some information on the access easements. And on stormwater, Mike and I will go over that in some detail as we get the SWIP put together. For the parking, I guess I was a little confused as far as the land banks, which ones were land bank spaces, and the numbers didn't quite match from what I looked at there, but,
I looked at that, and I kind of think I know what you're speaking to, so it's
Okay.
just a clarification type of deal, so we'll figure that out.
and as far as the driveways, that two-way main driveway, we were asking to show it in relation to the other driveway to the daycare facility, and you do have some of the drainage, the catch basin, the utility boxes right in that corner, but it seemed like by the time you remove the existing curb and put in the new curb, you might end up disrupting some of those existing features there. So we thought about maybe just shifting it a few feet to the north to avoid any disruption of what's out there.
The luxury we have here we got extra 10 feet to play with, because this is actually 60 feet that's head in terms of the width of that area. I understand, I did talk to Joe about this, it does get a little bit tight. Once you lay the radiuses in there, the entrance to the daycare sits just to the south. So you lay the radiuses, you lay the tangent pieces in, it starts to get a little, you know, a little tight. And there is a basin, catch basin here, which we're gonna have to adjust to make work. So, you know, to move it even a couple of feet is not a big deal, okay? In order to gain that separation, it's really a kind of a detailed construction type of thing, so.
And that's all you're looking for?
Yeah, it was just to make it easier for construction more than anything. I mean, he kind of centered it right in the middle of the right-of-way, and like you said, he does have a wider right-of-way there. He could shift it a little bit, at least angle the first entrance part so it's not affecting what's already out there.
Let me just add to that, are you planning on putting in a raised curb at the entrance? Concrete raised curb? Because again, the concern is with that box sitting just behind it, you know, again, you know, a raised curb will help protect it to some degree versus just pavement.
Yeah, I'm almost, in terms of the site next door, I believe they have curbs, I'm almost positive. But the
No, I
idea is
think
to
it's
get
just a drop
apron?
curb through the front of the apron, but there's not a curb that goes into the school.
The intent was, this is the main entrance to the facility, the intent was to provide for concrete curb in there, so.
Because again, that would help protect the utility there. Otherwise, you have to come up with maybe something else to help protect the bollards or something.
You know,
So are you guys in violent agreement here? Is there,
yeah, no, I think we're fine. It's just that box too, I want to, you know, it was shown by the surveyor, but I want to make sure it's correct in terms of dimension. It looks very big on this plan.
It may not be that
It
big,
may
but I
not,
think the
you know.
location is pretty accurate.
Right, and I would assume that it would be. So to get an exact measurement on that because I actually show just, you know, the hair of the curb actually just tucking.
I think we just want to be a little conservative because with the heavy, you know, with the tractor trailer movements through there, obviously, you don't
Right.
want to be too tight to it.
point made? Joe, anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Scott, anything else?
No.
All
Well,
right.
actually, one thing, this is also a subdivision, right? There's a, or a lot line, I believe there's an old tank in the weeds, if that could be removed from the site, sitting on top of the ground. Maybe like a 1,000-gallon, 2,000-gallon tank.
Like,
I don't know what kind of tank. I don't know if it was fuel, I don't know if it was, I don't know what.
Mike, I just have one additional question. Where
I
the,
believe it's empty, Mike, but it's just.
Yeah, it's just,
scrap
I'm not
metal.
aware of it,
It should just be
so,
removed, yeah.
Call up the Army and see if they're missing a tank. But at any rate, I'm sorry, Michelle.
I just was wondering if you could show me where the wall pack lights are gonna go? Just point.
Are they shown on that color elevation there?
I think the idea for the wall packs was just at the entry locations.
Okay, so not on the wall that's facing the wetland, because I was gonna ask you if it was gonna go on there, to only put it on motion sensor on that wall.
Nothing's facing, that's, yeah, there's nothing facing that area. There's no access, there's no entry, there's no anything.
Okay. Michelle, anything else? Scott, anything else? Tom, any issues? Okay. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to speak on brumation?
Garbage refuse.
Okay. I believe that's a no. Okay. So, comments from the board? Sorry, I should have made.
Have a need for one.
I'll write you each an apology note. Okay. Okay, so no comments.
No comment.
You see, I think that is pretty much the list of issues we've covered that were raised in the first public hearing that wasn't a public hearing, or at least a public discussion. So given that, given the fact that there's no one here, I would like to close the public hearing with the condition that says you and Joe continue to work, and the clock does not really start. The 60-day clock does not start until some agreement has been raised or reached on the SWIP. Is that,
That's fine, that's the board's prerogative. I think what happens is right, once it closes, the 62-day clock kind of clicks off, so it's got
But-
to get done, so.
can we agree to an extension if it's,
I would.
okay. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so why don't we do the following? Why don't we checkpoint and when do you want to come back and check? Joy, how long do you think you need to close this?
Well, we were just discussing, if you want to put it on your next agenda for approval, we can always put conditions if they're needed.
Do you want to do that?
This could be a condition, same as the health department or anything else, and
Yeah.
either they meet the condition or they don't, you know?
You guys are okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
We don't vote on that, do we?
No. What, do you want it, Michael, May 17th or June 7th? What do you think would be?
I want to make sure that Joe gets a level of comfort.
Right.
Okay, and so, I mean, we are having that meeting next week, so at the end of the day, it's really up to you in terms of being able to prepare a resolution of approval, so it doesn't, we have other things that are also rolling, and I appreciate the expediency of it, but it
We
doesn't
wouldn't
hurt
hold
us.
you up if it was June 7th.
It doesn't hurt us either way. Right.
I'm sorry?
It doesn't particularly matter either way
Go
from an
wait for
approval.
health department,
We've
so
got-
make
right.
it June 7th.
Okay,
June 7th.
we will put you on the agenda for June 7th for a decision. In the meantime, you know, we do like it when businesses relocate to this town, so, anything else?
That's it.
I will see you on June 7th. Is there anything else we need to do?
No, you've covered it all, Mr. Chair.
Pardon?
You've covered everything, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next item up is Daddy-O's Parking on Turner Street. So, Mike, why don't you walk us through the issues? And as I understand it, there was a meeting of all parties last By the way, it's good to close those public hearings, because otherwise, the police that have to be in here for crowd control at these public hearings, it's just, and I understand there was a meeting yesterday that maybe you could fill us all in on, and we could figure out where we are with this. By the way, this was on, we were going to look at the site survey and review it in light of parking to see if it, and really stuck with our initial impression that this was a minor site change. So,
Okay. So we are here tonight for a minor modification officially of an existing site plan.
okay,
There, I was recognized some conditions or some operations, let's say, of the existing site based upon a look and a review of the approved site plan. There is an approved site plan on file with the town of East Fishkill relative to the site. It goes back to the 80s, mid-80s. But to see if there's conformance and so forth, and a couple things were brought up. So over the probably the last few months, there's been some discussions between the applicant and representatives of the town. And in fact, last meeting, the owner presented this project to you to get the board kind of up to speed relative to what's being proposed. So yes, there was a meeting that was held earlier this week. And what I'd like to do is just going to go through some of the hot button issues, just so the board is clear about it, and then we move on. So we're all familiar with the site. It's Daddy-O's. It's officially ownership is DKK Corp. Existing restaurant, patio, and other accoutrements. What happens is you enter the site coming off of 82, come past the restaurant, and then parking on the right and the left, and then as you make your way around the peak where there's the entrance to the rail trail, you make your way around, and if there's no parking on the site, and then let's call it the main site itself, there's an auxiliary site that's also part of the ownership of DK, which exists right here. So this all exists, as well as this as well, okay? I want to make reference to another parking area that actually is shown on the approved site plan that was approved back in the mid-'80s, which is this location here, okay? I thought it was important to reference that because, again, it was part of the approved plan. It's not currently used as parking, okay? But it certainly does exist on that plan. I provided the information relative to the date of the plan and the date it was signed. And again, just for reference purposes, okay? I understand that the parcel a few years ago next door was actually subdivided. There was some work done relative to layout. It wasn't identified on that subdivision plan that in fact this existed, okay? So again, for clarity relative to this, we wanted to place it on this plan. So that being said, there's also parking that exists along Turner Street. If you work your way to the top of the site, you take a right, effectively, there's a small retaining wall, so people coming off of Turner Street and just kind of nose in.
He's going to set up his
What we're proposing is, we're proposing to maintain, we're proposing to
I told him he
maintain,
could sit there so he could
oh,
see.
okay.
to maintain these spots, but actually turning them a little bit, so we provide some assurance that the back of those vehicles are actually not on the town right-of-way, believe it or not. Turner Street is a town road. There have been issues in the past relative to parking along Turner Street, okay? And I think one of the things that was expressed by the town last night is to provide some assurity that emergency vehicles can get in and out of there. There is an existing home that exists in the back. So as part of, let's call it, the enhancements of this site, we're showing, again, a reconfiguration of these parking spots. We're limiting it. We're going to provide some handicap spots, which the site desperately needs. Also limiting the additional spots to compact cars. All right, so we keep it short. In addition, along the back side of the restaurant, we're
I'm sorry,
proposing
Mike.
some,
I noticed, I was out there this weekend with a tape measure, and right by the deck, it's 20 feet to the wall from the town, from the road thing. So are you saying all that parking up there is going to be compact?
it's either going to be handicapped, which is the first handicap spaces to 4, and then compact from here around. And the reason for is this, is just because there's an edge of pavement or some kind of line, the property line is a bit closer, okay? So we don't have that full depth of parking space there. That's the reason why we're turning them. So now, we lose the ability of some spaces, but we provide some assurance that, again, the parking spaces are on the property and not on the town property.
Okay, thank you.
In addition, on the back side of the restaurant, we're showing a 5-foot width area for a fire lane. There has been tendency, especially, when we have the combination of maybe the restaurant being open and then, the rail trail as well. The owner has been very open in terms of allowing, and may even have a formal agreement with Dutchess County allowing for parking at the head of the rail trail here. But there are times when there are cars parked along the edge of the building. So as part of this, we're actually showing a fire lane from one end of the building to the other, in addition to, actually, I show 5 no parking prohibited signs, okay? There are existing no parking signs on the northern side of Turner Street, and again, then it particularly comes an enforcement issue, I guess, by the town to make sure that happens, okay? So we take a look at everything. I will back up. There is a parking space on the end here as part of working with Michelle in terms of trying to optimize the site with what we have. We're actually removing a parking space up at the extreme northern end to allow for some greater width. All right, I've been to the site a number of times, and while I've never had an issue of getting through there, it does get tight. So that should open that up a little bit. So we ran some parking calculations relative to the space, and effectively, the on-site spaces, okay, we provide here, okay, are 77.
I'm sorry, Mike, you ran your hand. Does that include the additional lot that's,
There are
the
77.
lot that exists, not the one that does not?
No, just the onsite, not the lot.
The 77
It does not include,
does not include that one, but does include the other one, the southern lot.
I think it would have to,
this site,
yeah.
along with the site of which the owner owns and is part of this site plan, total 86 spots,
86,
86,
okay.
okay? We determined, Michelle and I going through back and forth, determined that the site parking demand is 94.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so again, that's the main site as well as this, call it auxiliary parking area, not including the previously
Right.
approved site plan with the parking spaces that really don't exist today. So effectively, at the end of the day, and we've added some spots in some key locations, we're extending the pavement out, everything is proposed to be restriped. This area up here along the top of Turner Street is all proposed to be paved. Again, in addition to signage, we're talking about providing for barriers. All right now, there's just railroad ties there, which may not do much of anything. So I think that, all things considered, we've optimized the site parking as best we can for what exists. So at
Okay.
the end of the day, it would require, from this board, a waiver of 8 parking spaces at the end
And
of the
then,
day.
yes, and then also an agreement that they can go down to a smaller size for the compact cars. And then also, I think there are just a small number, maybe 4 or 5, that have gone to 9 by 18 instead of 10 by 20 at my recommendation, because I felt like we could go to 9 by 18 on some of the spaces as long as we restriped. I was feeling that perhaps because of the way it was striped out there, they were losing some parking spaces to sloppy parking, people just not parking. And I think if they, and 9 by 18 is a very typical parking size space.
Okay. Joe, any comments?
No, I don't have any comments.
No?
No.
Tom, any comments?
Well, I think there's an effective way to resolve the problem that this property owner bought the site, and the approval with the site plan included another space, which then when that property came before this board for subdivision, that parking lot was never shown. So it's kind of a catch-22 that this property owner finds himself in. So I do think that the adjustments to the site, as well as the waiver of those couple of spaces is appropriate, since it's an existing site, and through no fault of the current operator, the site plan problem arose.
Okay. What about rail trail parking? I mean, it used to have signs, and I know they had all down saying no rail trail parking.
Well, that's a county trail, and they're supposed to provide park. There is parking on the other street. If people do park here, I mean, I don't think the owner of this property is going to have a problem with the parking, but I don't think he's going to, go out and solicit them to park, so.
Okay.
The signs have been removed. That is important. The rail trail parking sign that used to be there is no longer there.
Okay. I'm sorry, this is not a public hearing, so.
I can't speak at all?
No. Town engineers, I understand, had some issues. Do we, I think to really make sure we did get closure on this, can we get the town engineer to come back in, or is he?
I don't think he is. I don't think he has any other issues.
You don't think he does? Okay, good. All right. Let me turn this to the board. What do you guys think we should do?
Well, what are you looking at me
Because,
for? I have no.
No, I think he's repaving and restriping to get the maximum amount of parking on his property, so.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. I
And
think
with that second auxiliary lot really not being available, I think we are kind of caught, so 8 is not a significant number out of 94, so I'm willing to.
No, I agree.
so
To
we.
consider a
so
waiver.
Do I have a motion to waive the 8 parking places and approve this as a minor site plan change?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.